Hello. We're going to go ahead and get started here. Welcome everybody to this week's webinar. My name is Peter Messmer and I am the Director of Growth here at Shoppers. And today we're going to be talking about the Mary Maxim journey. And I'm going to be sharing with you guys how we worked with them and helped them increase revenue, email subscribers, and sharing. So I'm really excited about this because this is a client I've actually personally worked with, and they're coming up on their 2-year anniversary with us tomorrow. So it's really exciting to be able to finally share some of what they've done with the rest of the Ad Shoppers community. So I'm really excited, and we're going to go ahead and jump into this right after a couple of the brief kind of standard webinar announcements. So first, please, if you have any questions as we're going through this, feel free to ask away. I will try and monitor the Q&A as we go through here in real time, so I will do my best to get to each question right away if I can. If not, we have some time at the end for Q&A, so I'll hold the questions until that time. This is going to be not your standard hour-long webinar. Is going to be a little bit shorter and quicker and more value-packed. So expect for this the main part of this webinar here to last probably around 20 to 30 minutes with time for Q&A afterwards. So nothing grueling here. And I think that's all for the standard kind of pre-webinar announcement. So let's just go ahead and dive right into it. So let me tell you guys a little bit about Mary Maxim in case you don't know who they are already. There's a lot of text on this page, but don't worry about reading it. I'll give you the highlights. So they were founded in 1930. So if you do the math, they've been around about 86 years, which means they're almost a century-old company, which is kind of cool. And what they do is they sell yarn, needlework, kind of arts and crafts type products. So really artsy and crafty type of community that they sell to. And that's basically what they are and who they do. MaryMaxim.com is their website. And I know they have, in addition to the website, they do a lot of direct mail. They have a catalog and stuff like that. So that's a little bit about Mary Maxim. Again, I just mentioned they've been a client for about 2 years, so they've been up and running on our platform for a good amount of time. And let's go ahead and take it back to the beginning here. So about 2 years ago, when they first came to us and started working with Ad Shoppers, here are the main pain points and problems that they had that they needed help with and they wanted to get results with quickly. So the first one was kind of around, it was almost like a resource problem. So in their marketing department, they had a couple people, but they weren't able to, get campaigns up and running really quickly. It was kind of a roadblock for them. It was almost like they were, you had an internal hurdle, and if they wanted to launch a new campaign, they either had to pay to have it completely custom developed by a third-party agency or something like that, or they didn't really have any other options. So basically getting things up and live and able to be tested out on the site was a really long and cumbersome process for them. So they really wanted to be able to get some of the campaigns that we'll look out here a little bit later up in days and weeks rather than months and years. So that's one of the biggest pain points they had, was basically what we call here at Ad Shoppers a marketing agility problem. So that was the first big thing they wanted to address, and one of the reasons they decided to work with us. Number two had everything to do with their email marketing. So they had an email marketing program that was up and running, and it was really strong. It was a big driver of revenue. However, they were having trouble growing their list. They basically hit a ceiling where they were having a really hard time getting more email subscribers, and basically their list size was stagnant or even declining when you combine the number of people that were subscribing every day to the number of people that were like unsubscribing or leaving the list every day. So they basically hit, a point where their list was as it could be, and it was actually slightly declining. So this was the second big problem. They wanted to start increasing their email list again, so they really needed to focus on capturing more emails or lead generation so that they could continue to fuel their email marketing program that was already working really well. And then lastly, they really had a lack of social media traction, so they felt that because they had a pretty tight-knit community of people that were pretty kind of like lifelong knitters and sewers and things like that, they thought they should be getting more social media traction than they were getting. So they really wanted to increase social sharing, get a lot more word-of-mouth sharing going on, especially on the bigger networks like Facebook and Pinterest for them, which will eventually come back to the site, leading in increased social traffic and sales. So that was the third big kind of pain point they had that they came to us with. So now what we can do is we'll start looking at how did we address each of those pain points and how did we take our platform and use it to address all of these issues. So first up, we'll just put everything on one slide that they did, and then we'll break down everything we did with each of these apps. So in case you haven't seen this yet, the way we tend to break down basically like the e-commerce process, or at least on the marketing side, is with what we call the shopper journey. So if you look here up the kind of in the middle of the page here with the orange arrows, these are the different stages of the shopper journey that pretty much any shopper goes through. So there's awareness, interest, consideration, purchase, and then finally retention and advocacy. So we like to, whenever we're doing anything, take this really high, bird's eye view of the e-commerce to figure out, what areas need work and where we need to focus. And then we break that down by, which app or which campaign we're going to place in, which location. So for the top of the funnel, so awareness, we integrated the sharing buttons that are part of our platform. And so moving down towards interest, we use social rewards to really bolster this part of the shopper journey. And then for consideration, we use both social login and behavioral targeting. And finally, to help drive more purchases, we use the social rewards app. So this is a really high-level view of how we approach this problem. And now we'll go ahead and look at, what are the specific things that we actually did to, with each of these apps in each of these stages of the shopper journey. So this is what we're going to look at now. Kind of like I just said, we'll go through each step and we'll look at which apps we used and how we improved each of these 4 steps of the shopper journey, from awareness through interest to consideration and then purchase. So first up is going to be awareness, and like I mentioned earlier, we mainly focused on sharing buttons for this stage of the journey. So this is kind of what we did here. So if you look at the screenshot on the right of the page, you can see an example of buttons that we have up and running on Mary Maxim. And here's what is important about what we did here. So the first thing that you'll notice, and you can't necessarily see this in the screenshot, but I'll explain how it works, is it's basically a better user experience for both e-commerce and for the actual end user who's sharing out. So if you click on one of these buttons, if you're actually on their site, and let's say you click on Facebook to share out to your Facebook news feed, it pops up a modal over the website and allows you to share straight from that modal without ever leaving the page. So this kind of follows the e-commerce best practices where people never leave the page to share, so it keeps them on your site at all times. And this is one of the things that it's a little more subtle and nuanced, but it's much better than a lot of the default sharing button providers. The second thing that's really important about this is the fact that it's easily integrated with just about every other app on our platform. So in this example, you'll see in the little green tag above the sharing buttons, it says 5% off. So this is an integration with the social rewards that allows you to incentivize the sharing with some kind of an offer or a discount. Now we're going to talk about the social rewards a little bit later, but for now, just remember that the fact that these integrate with everything else makes these buttons, much more powerful than it might seem at first glance. They're also really easily customizable. So if you look at the visual design of these buttons, it matches the colors and their branding. So it's a more seamless integration, and it allows for a much more cohesive brand experience as customers are shopping the site. And so the end result with an integration with sharing like this is we're going to increase the amount of sharing, which leads to more awareness at this stage of the shopper journey. And if you also remember back to their pain points, this was one of the major reasons that they wanted to use our platform, was simply to increase sharing. So that's what we did with the sharing buttons to help out the awareness stage of their shopper journey. So a couple results that I can share with you guys here. So one of the other key things with the buttons is they plug into our what we call the shopper analytics. So we're tracking everything that's happening through these buttons. So when someone shares something out to when someone clicks through a shared link, comes back and makes a purchase, we're able to track each of those key events and tie them all together in the dashboard. So if you look here on the page, I pulled one sample report from their dashboard. Obviously there's a lot that we could share, but I just thought this one would help show some of the things that they've been able to see with our platform. So you'll see here that Facebook and Pinterest here comprise just about all of their social media traffic and sales. So now once you know this, they know that Facebook and Pinterest are the main networks that they should be focusing on, and the rest of the social media networks, maybe they can be included as a sharing option, but they don't need to waste their time on those channels. So this is an example of some of the insights that they got from having our sharing buttons installed and powering all the sharing on their site. So next up, let's move on to the next step in the shopper journey. So in this step, this is going to be the consideration step, where now customers are not only aware about your site, but they're on your site, they're browsing, they're looking at products, and they're considering a purchase. So in this stage of the funnel, we use behavioral targeting and social login to make this stage so much stronger for Mary Maxim. So behavioral targeting, we'll take this app first. So before they had this app integrated, when you first came to their site, it looked something like this. So this is a homepage, kind of standard, nothing looks crazy, nothing out of the ordinary here, and that was kind of exactly what the problem was. There's so much to do here, there's so many things to look at, that there wasn't really a strong emphasis on capturing emails, which was, if you remember, one of their really big pain points that they wanted to use our platform for. So we integrated behavioral targeting, and there's a little animation here. So this is kind of the beginning. So as soon as someone comes to the site, we'll pop up this offer here that says enter to win our weekly $50 gift card giveaway. And this is one thing that we enabled for them almost right away. And right after we added this, their email capture rates just skyrocketed. So they went from having a stagnant email list, maybe even declining a little bit from unsubscribes, and they integrated this, and they almost overnight started seeing a positive growth in their email list again. So they routinely see very, very high relatively email capture rates from the percentage of people that fill this offer out versus the percent that see this offer. So it's a really, really strong campaign that they've been running to really amp up their email captures. So definitely something that's been really powerful for them when it comes to capturing emails and growing their list. So one thing as you're looking at this, that you may be running something like this already. One thing to think about with this is a couple things that you might want to take away. So you may want to think about A/B testing, a $50 gift card giveaway versus another offer. So this is something that we tested to see which would get the most number of people entering their email to subscribe, and this was the winner. So you may want to think about, can you test one offer versus another offer? You may want to think about, can you show a different offer on different devices? You may also want to think about, in this example, you can see there's an email capture where you manually enter in your email address. But you may want to show, instead of an email form on a mobile device, you may want to show something like Facebook login or something like that, where the customer doesn't even have to fill out the form, they just tap a button. You may also want to think about, are you customizing this message based on the traffic source? If someone comes from Facebook, maybe you want to show a different message than someone that clicks over from Google search or something like that. So a couple of things that you can do with this behavioral targeting kind of campaigns on our platform that can really help you test and find out what's going to convert the highest to capture the most number of emails possible. So that's basically what we did with the behavioral targeting. And so what were the results with this? You'll see some numbers on the actual increase in their email list at the very end on our main results slide, but I can also share with you that people that fill out this entry modal convert to a sale at a little over 10%, which is really, really strong in general. I can also share, I can't share their exact site-wide conversion rate, but I can say that this is much higher. So it converts really, really well for them. And not only is it a way that they can capture a lot more emails, but it's also a way that they can convert their visitors at a much higher rate, which obviously leads to more revenue, which everybody wants. So that's really cool. So next up, we'll go ahead and look at social login. So this one's a little bit different from behavioral targeting, and basically what we integrated social login for was a way to make the checkout a lot easier and much more seamless. So this is really, really, really important on mobile devices especially. So I kind of just mentioned how you may want to have social login in a modal to capture somebody's email address. But think about the checkout where there's not just one email form to fill out. You may have 10, 20, 30 fields to fill out on your checkout process, which is definitely a daunting task for anybody, no matter what device they're on, much less being on a mobile device where they may not even have a real keyboard. So social login is a really great way to remove that friction during checkout, and it's going to allow you to see higher conversion rates, especially on mobile, because it's just so much easier to complete that purchase. So we integrated the social login for Maxim, and you'll see here on the right, that's basically what it looks like. Again, similar theme as we saw with the sharing buttons. It's a custom design to match the look and feel and the colors of their site. And this shows up on the log out or create an account step of their checkout. And obviously the way it works, you're probably already familiar with how social login works in general, but just in case you're not, the way it works is you tap on the sign in with Facebook button and it pulls all your data from Facebook in this example and logs you into your account if you already have one, or it creates a new account with the storefront and then logs you in directly after that. So it's really easy to get into your account with social login because all you have to do is click or tap one button. And then as far as some of the results they saw with this, over 10% of their customers elect to use social login. And this may not seem like a huge number right away at face value, but you have to think about the demographics of this audience. It's heavily skewed towards the 55-plus demographic, which isn't quite as social media savvy and used to things like social login as other demographic ranges might be. So it's really pretty powerful if you actually think about that number as it compares to the demographic. So you can see that it's really popular with their customers, and it's a much easier way to check out. So that's what we did with social login for them. Again, that was really a way to just reduce friction with checkout and get more people to complete their purchase, especially on mobile. So now that we've covered that, let's go ahead and move towards the purchase part of the shopper journey. So like I mentioned before on that table where we showed the shopper journey and each app that we used for which stage of the journey, Social Rewards is the app that we use to help increase the amount of purchases that were happening. So the way we did this with Social Rewards is a couple things. So this may look familiar if you think back to the sharing buttons page or slide a couple slides back. This is the same thing. So now we're actually going to talk about how the social rewards campaign worked. So if you look at the sharing buttons on the left, on any product page, this is what you'll see. And you'll see the sharing buttons, and then attached to it at the top is a little call-out tag that says 5% off. So the way this works is this is a social rewards campaign that's running through our sharing button. So if I clicked on Facebook, for example, it'll pop up the sharing modal, and then as soon as I finish sharing out, it gives me that coupon code for 5% off, and then I can use that during checkout. So this is one of two places we integrated the social rewards for Maxim. The second place was a little bit more strategically chosen because we really wanted to increase the amount of purchases that we saw across the entire site. So if you think about it, what do most people do when they hit the checkout page or the cart page and they see an empty coupon code box, that's blank, and it just says, do you have a coupon code, or enter coupon code here, or something to that same effect. I think we can all agree that what most people do at that point in the checkout is they leave the site, they open up a new tab, they go to Google or their favorite coupon site, and they try and find a coupon. So what we were trying to do with the social rewards is integrate that share for coupon functionality directly into the checkout page, so that people that hit that page and immediately wonder, how do I get a coupon, all they have to do is share out and get a coupon immediately, and they'd never have to leave the site, because once people have left the site, now they're on Google, who knows where they'll end up, who knows if they'll come back to finish their purchase. So here's what we did to address that. Here's their shopping cart, and you'll see I have a product in my shopping cart, and then here's the discount code section highlighted here in the middle of the page here. So probably everybody here has a section on their cart or checkout that looks something like this, to the same effect. And there's the blank field that says apply coupon. So we added this share for coupon button right below that immediately answers the question that everybody has when they hit this page, assuming they don't have a coupon code already, which is, how do I get a coupon? So you'll see here that this has been shared out quite a good number of times, so over 8,000, and that number is increasing every day because people are coming here and they're sharing out to get that coupon code, and then they're completing their purchase immediately thereafter. So not only is it a fantastic way to reduce that cart abandonment from people searching for coupons, but obviously because people are sharing, it's another way to increase sharing and generate more of that word-of-mouth sharing activity that we mentioned was one of their big pain points. So this is how the social rewards worked. And so how about the impact? What impact did it have on their store? So I can share with you this number, which I think is really powerful. So 63% of people completed their purchase after sharing out with with social rewards. So I don't know what your average conversion rate is, but I'm guessing 63% would be really, really strong. So you can see that something like this is really, really powerful. So once people can share out, get a coupon, and then once they get that code, they're very, very likely to complete their purchase. So kind of the ripple effects that this campaign has had is going to be, like I mentioned already, so the lower cart abandonment, because people never have to go and leave and search for a coupon, and obviously the increased social sharing that they saw from having this share for coupon enabled, because again, don't forget that people are sharing to get the code. Now, I don't have this particular client's specific increase in social sharing because they launched with this campaign, so we didn't have a before number to compare the results that we saw to. But I can share that network-wide, the average increase in sharing with social rewards is 191%. So this is comparing any client that has a share for coupon campaign enabled versus clients that don't have any kind of incentive tied to their sharing button. So this is definitely very powerful for not just increasing conversions, but increasing sharing as well. So how about the results that we saw across their entire site? So we take all the stuff that we did and we looked at it after a year, and we pulled the results that we'd seen from running these campaigns. So some of the more high-level results here. So so like I mentioned, we took their first full month with ad shoppers, and then we compared that to the same month in the following year. So we don't have to worry about seasonality or anything like that. And here are the increases that we saw. So their site traffic increased by 17.2%. Their email list had grown by 19.2%, and they were capturing emails at a rate that was 154% higher than before. And lastly, their total revenue increased. I can't share specific numbers here, but if you look at the graph, you can see you can get a feel for how their revenue increased as a result of having these campaigns, versus before ad shoppers when they didn't have any of these campaigns on the site. And then, so these are some of the results that you can see as far as like percentage increases and kind of direct impact on the the entire e-commerce area of their business. But remember, the very first pain point that they came to us with was being able to launch marketing campaigns faster. So we weren't tracking any metrics at the time because they got started with us 2 years ago. But what I can share is whenever they want to launch a new campaign, so maybe a new email capture campaign, or maybe a new behavioral targeting modal like the one we looked at, we can usually get this with a turnaround time of 1 week or less, which is much lower than if you had to go to a new third party or something like that. So you don't have to worry about many of the traditional IT roadblocks that you might have, especially if you're a bigger organization and you have different layers and departments that things have to go through. So that's one of the other things that we don't have quantified on this slide, but it's really powerful, and they see that they can launch things much faster with us than they could before, and they can just do so much more because we're handling many of these integrations that we looked at, and they don't have to worry about that, so they can move on to things that are a little bit more pressing on their side, but they still get the benefit of all of these apps that we just looked at. So that's basically what they saw as a result of our platform. Here is a quote from Mike, the director of e-commerce at Maxim. You can read it if you want. I'm not going to read it because it's really long. But there it is. So basically, he's a big fan, and what we're going to be doing with them in the future is integrating into some of their other sites and looking at launching some of the other apps that we have as part of our platform. And that is basically everything that we did for them. So as promised, I mentioned we're going to keep this one short and sweet. So if you guys have any questions, please go ahead and get them in now. I can stick around for a couple minutes to answer questions. So just put anything in if you're wondering how we did a certain campaign or why we did something versus not running something a different way with the campaigns that we launched for them. Just type it in the Q&A box and let me know. Otherwise, if you're here and you've been looking at ad shoppers or you haven't been sure if it's something that you should go with, then the best thing that you can do is jump on a live demo with us. So you see the URL there at the bottom, adshoppers.com/live-demo. That will pull up our live demo schedule, and you can jump on one of those and take a look at our platform in about 20 to 30 minutes with time for Q&A afterwards. It says 2 p.m. EST there, but we actually have different times, so just pick one that works best for you. Anything else, you see my email address there on the screen, so just shoot me an email and let me know what you thought or if you have any questions about anything else, and I will get back to you as soon as I possibly can, and if I can't answer it, I will get you in touch with someone that can. And lastly, if you're on Twitter, tweet me at TheBigCatSays. You see my Twitter name on the screen there. So if you're feeling fun, just tweet me and let me know what you thought of this webinar. And that is everything. So thank you again for showing up. I really hope this was interesting for you guys. I Actually, there's a couple of questions coming in. So I should have, yes, Stacy, sorry about that. I should have mentioned this at the very beginning. But yes, the question is about, will the slides be available for download? And the answer to that is yes. We will definitely be sharing out the slides and the recording here as soon as this is over. We'll probably get it out to you either later today or early tomorrow. So you guys have that and you can review it at your convenience. Any other questions? Go ahead and put those through here right now so I can get to those. And if there are no other questions, then we'll go ahead and wrap this thing up. So thank you guys for spending a couple minutes here with me, and I really hope you got a lot of value out of this. And so yeah, you will get the recording here shortly, and hope to talk to you guys soon. Take care. Bye.